Hey
We're
everybody, what's
good.
going on?
What's up? Welcome to podcast number 5.
Five, all about the process of bowling.
Yep. Seems like just yesterday we started this, and now we're at 5 and over 100 subscribers.
Yeah, 100 subscribers. Just want to say thank
That's
you to
sick.
everybody. It's so awesome. We're super excited. In less than a month, 100 subscribers. I think that's pretty good, so I'm excited about it.
YouTube's hard to get started in, so every milestone is going to be memorable, and this is our first 100. And like I said, thank you guys so much. Going forward, we definitely are going to start to reward our subscribers for following us. We're thinking about doing a giveaway every 100, and then when we hit 500, we're planning something a little special. Hopefully, it works out for all the people that have been loyal to us from the start. So definitely stay tuned for that. We're gonna put that in the works, and you'll definitely see some contest giveaways on our social medias, in our YouTube videos, everything like that. So you guys will definitely know when the giveaways are happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, so going from that, we kind of want to talk about the process, practice, getting ready for league, getting ready for tournaments, getting ready for big tournaments, and just kind of like a good way of going about that, and mainly focused around like mental process, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And this is going to differ. Neither of us are experts. It's going to be different. The way I process things is going to be different. The way he processes it, different from the way Belmo processes it. This is just our take on what we do, and it's worked for us. But we've obviously, had our failures too. This is kind of just how we each individually deal with things, and this may be able to help, the average everyday person figure out a better way to handle, their practice session, league, local tournament, whatever it may be.
If they got front nine, don't know how to deal with it, stuff like that.
Yeah, those are definitely nerve-wracking times for sure. But so let's start with practice. How I practice, how you practice, what we think about, what we're trying to accomplish, what our mindset is, just like an
It's,
everyday practice.
yeah, and this is pretty good because me and him have polar opposite um,
Yeah.
ways to go about preparing for practice and practicing in general.
Mhm.
I like to practice once a week if I'm sharp and I'm feeling good. Maybe not even once a week. Maybe I'm just bowling my tournaments on the weekends. Maybe a night of league, sub here, sub there, something like that. But for me, that one night or that one maybe hour of practice, 2 hours of practice, depending on what I'm working on, it's timing and it's tempo and it's knowing where the groove is. I mean,
It's
that's what that
feel.
process is. It's feel, getting that feel. And if I feel good and I know where it is, I know exactly what I want to feel, I might not even practice that week. That's pretty much how I go about a practice because it's for me, it's all about that timing and that feel and what my hand's doing. And if I can get into a bad habit from over practicing, I've done that to myself before. So I kind of, the only time I ever really go at practice if I'm trying to get something into my game or I'm broken. And and when you're broken, you feel like you're incredibly far away.
Yeah. And for a period of time there, you couldn't practice because you were in pain too. So you kind of went backwards there for a little bit because your
Yep.
hand hurt so bad you couldn't even get a feel because you were worried about your hand breaking in half.
Yep. So I was bowling. I was practicing or never practicing for probably from what the end of November
It was a while. It
to
was before
yeah,
that.
yeah. So it was a while. I wasn't practicing, and yeah, no, it was a while. It was even before that. I wasn't practicing on and off, and then I finally took the break at the beginning of middle of January this year.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, because the first tournament back was I bowled the doubles tournament on February
Mhm.
1st. So, and then I'm pretty good now. Now I'm actually really good. But
How did you process coming back from like the break? What was your thought process going into that?
okay, yeah, yeah. It was really about going slow enough not to hurt myself again. I wasn't fully healed by any means. It's golfer's elbow. That's what it is right here. Um, and I always have wrist issues. I've had wrist issues since I was 14, so those don't really phase me anymore. Um, but yeah, so it was getting really bad here when I mean we're talking. I picked up a carton of eggs and it hurt. Like that's where we were at. So when I was coming back, it was going as slow as possible, taping up, using all the tape, all the I don't know what that thing is called. It's the thing that applies pressure here, the tendonitis
Like
brace.
yeah, like a thermo
Yeah,
band. I know what you're talking
yeah,
about. Yeah,
something like
there's
that. That
hundred
applies
hundred
pressure
different
there.
versions of it.
Yeah. So I use that and just really just going really really slow. And then I was finally so from about February 1st to really the last tournament I bowled on March 14th. I was just getting feel because I had the new balls and all that kind of stuff. So I was just getting feel, and I finally bowled that tournament. It was good. I bowled 297, qualified second, finished second. Like that was the best I felt. That was the best I felt in a long time. And the process was just trying to focus on what's in front of me, not get carried away with anything around me. That's a problem I have. But that's for tournaments and stuff. So how do you practice?
Yeah. So like he talked about, we're very, very different, and my process has changed a lot. I'm a practiceaholic. If I could, I'd practice every moment I'm awake, every single day that I was at a bowling center. But that's kind of shifted the last maybe 6 months or so. Kind of had like a, I don't know, like an epiphany, I guess. Like just something wasn't right, so I tried to kind of scale back a little bit, and it seems to have been helping me a bit more. I do practice obviously more than he does. Probably, I don't know. I try to limit it to about 2 hours a day, maybe maybe at maximum 5 times a week, which seems like a lot, but
That's less for him, everybody. Just remember that.
yeah, I literally bowl like 2 or 3, 4 hours at straight. Like I would just bowl every single day and not give myself enough chance to rest. When I was doing that, I was trying to be perfect. My version of try to never throw a bad shot, which is unrealistic. But if you practice that way and you can get in, like, it gets you in a bad spot because you can practice any way you want. There's no outside influences. You're not bowling for anything. So you can just sit there and just try to throw it perfect all the time because you're as comfortable as you're going to get. But then, it goes to league or tournament time. Something's a little different, gets in your head, then you're not perfect, and then it goes way off the rails. The last 6 months, or maybe even less than that, what I've tried to do is still try to be perfect, whatever, but I'm trying to narrow my ranges, meaning I'm trying to not throw my best shot every single time, but I'm trying to make my worst shot still really good. So I'm trying to close those ranges where if I miss, it's not by a big enough margin where I'm going to, get 3 off the left or miss the head pin right, or, whatever it may be. I'm trying to take those ranges and I'm trying to make them smaller. So in a tournament situation, when I'm throwing it okay versus really good, they're not so far apart where I misread what's going on in front of me. So that's kind of how I've been practicing more recently, is really trying to get those, video myself, see what the bad shot looks like, see bad shot, see what the good shot is, see how far away they are, and then just really try to get those as close as I can together, and then get my mind to accept that the okay shot is still really, really good for what I'm trying to do. So that's kind of how I've shifted my practice. Instead of trying to throw every shot at 10, try to make my worst shot a 7 instead of a 5, or worst shot at 8 instead of something like that. So just trying to make my bad shots better.
And that's really important because everyone tries to throw it the best they can every time. And there's been situations where it was better for me to throw it worse than throw it the best I can. And that sounds crazy, but it's the truth, because sometimes, the lanes want this and you're trying to be perfect and have it over here, but the lanes want this. And I mean, we've joked about that because I've always made that joke and stuff like that, but it's the truth. You don't need to be perfect. And that's
Yeah,
that's something a lot of bowlers need to get through their heads, for sure.
yeah, to go like what he said, if I threw it absolutely dead perfect and I was lined up to throw it 8 out of 10, it's most likely going to hook a little bit more or something like that, because I'm going to get it off my hand just that little bit cleaner, where I catch a little bit more, or my projection is going to be that much better on paper. But the lane, I wasn't playing the lane that way. I wasn't lined up to throw it that good. So that's kind of how, going from practice forward is helped me for the little bit that I've gotten to bowl since I've kind of started to figure this out. Is I hadn't been bowling great before that, but the performances I had going forward, I never bowled phenomenal, but I never bowled out of it. I was always really close, and my bad shots were always closer and at a smaller margin of error than they had been before. So
Exactly. Yeah.
So going forward, to kind of relate that to what we do, we both do coaching on the side, something I really enjoy. He's recently gotten into it. A lot of times when I deal with, customers, whatever, people that I coach, a lot of times what will happen is we'll have a really good session, a really good hour session. They'll bowl either their average, a little above it. They'll figure some stuff out, and then they'll take that and they'll go to league, and then they'll bowl worse than they ever had. And they spin out, they fry out, they don't understand. They come back, they tell me what happened in the league. We work on it, straighten it out, have another good session. They might bowl their highest game they've ever bowled, go to league, they crash and burn again. And that's kind of that process that we talked about. It's not translating from the practice to any kind of competitive setting.
And I call that the lights on syndrome.
Yeah,
It's
literally.
where you could be doing everything good in practice. The second practice is over, you try to do something that you don't need to do. You try to help it. By help it, we mean, like try to place the ball down the lane, like you're trying to hit, just trying to hit a needlehead down the lane. And that's just, you just want to let it all happen. You just want to just let it all happen and focus on your process. And this is where the differences from practice to league, competitive, and on play is the process and letting it happen. Because in practice, you can pretty much do whatever you want to do. You're normally your best self. You're comfortable. You're doing everything right. Unless you're really in a bad slump, practice is normally going to go pretty good for you.
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
so process is finding a way to let yourself get in that zone. And that zone is just being able to repeat, let your muscle memory do everything, just let your body react to the situation. And that's really what the difference is. In league, it's a little bit more, I know Queso takes league a bit more seriously than I do sometimes. He practices for it. So he might have a different process in going into league than I do. For me, league is kind of like practice and honestly just social, have fun, joke around with my friends, stuff like that. It's really when I get to, my local play and professional events. Professional events, completely different for me. I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure that out, actually. But my mindset, anyone that knows me and's really been around and knows I have an issue with focusing in local events sometimes, and it kind of gets the best of me. And then whenever I go on a bowl PBA event or a big amateur event, I'm very, very focused. And that just has to do with following your process. When there's more on the line, you tend to stay more focused. You tend to be in the moment more, and that's really, really big.
Yeah, or on the other side of it is you focus so hard that you don't allow yourself. It happens one or the
Correct.
other. You're either hyper focused where everything's razor sharp, or you're hyper focused and you crash and burn.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think that has a lot to do with putting the objective before you actually throw in the bowling ball. So what I mean by that is, like, again, going back to people I coach, they're trying to bowl 220.
They're trying to
They average
strike.
170.
This
Yeah,
is, I mean, had conversation. This is something that me and Rhino have talked about a lot. This is big for him.
he's
Is
very big on it. Yeah,
this is huge for him. This is one of his main points when he coaches and he, tries to help out and instill some wisdom. It's always, you're not trying to strike. The goal is not to strike. What's the goal? Yeah, what's the goal? I mean, most people will say to strike. That's not the goal. The goal is to repeat, to do things over and over again. The lanes, they don't matter. At a certain point, they don't matter. It's letting yourself do it, and the goal is to just do the best you can. And it sounds so cliche, and I did not believe it
literally.
for so long because it's the most cliche thing, but it's the truth. Every tournament I go into, and I have low expectations, I'm focused on one thing. That's why I've been bowling pretty good after the injury, because I'm not trying to win. There's no goals to win. There's no expectations to bowl well. There's no scores I'm trying. There's nothing I'm trying to do besides be able to bowl.
Yeah.
And when that's the goal, it's really easy to execute.
Yeah. When you get that taken away from you, it's like, I just want to bowl
Totally
again.
different perspective. Yeah. Totally different
Yeah.
perspective. So true.
Yeah. So I think that's the disconnect a lot of, I mean, even up to 230, but like I was going to say, like the 130 to 2-0 average people most of the time have that disconnect between practice and league is, I hear it all the time. I bowled good in practice, but I can't do it in league, because you're already putting the score, the objective, before you even throwing the shot. And that automatically puts you in a bad mindset. You press, and if you've never pressed before, if most of the time just bowl, and you don't know how to handle that mental pressure that you put on yourself, and then it snowballs. Where for us, we can press. It may not always work out, but sometimes we know how to press the right way and focus in a little bit more to make it that much better for ourselves. But that didn't happen overnight. That happened after crashing and falling and burning
Yeah,
so many times.
that's also that's a personality thing as well. Some people don't have the ability just to get so angry and so disgusted with themselves or so disappointed in themselves that they could just pull it out and just start bowling good. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like that I'm one of those people, but I am one of those people.
You 100% are there.
Yeah, I mean,
I am not.
I've had, I'll never forget this, at Short Lanes. We were bowling on Viper. I was bowling terrible. I was out of the cut by 100, and I remembered. I mean, I was just doing brain surgery on myself. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You just and I'm digging, just quicksand, just digging away, digging a hole.
Hmm.
And then I got to the point where I'm just like, oh, it doesn't matter anymore. I have no chance. Next game I bowl 300. What is that? It's because I was so defeated that I gave up and I let myself bowl with
You
no
let go.
expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah, with no expectation of anything, and that's big for the process. That's really really big for the process. Is if you're forcing, if you're trying to force it, it won't work.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll have the illusion that it works. You'll have the illusion of success, but long-term consistent success never comes from the people that are always trying to chase it. The people that are always the best let it happen. They don't try to chase something. They're just waiting for it to just come to them, pretty
Yep.
much.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So,
So how do you really
uh,
prepare before a tournament?
before tournament, again, before it was I got to practice the night before. You know, if we have a tournament at 10 a.m., I'm practicing at 9 p.m. the night before, just trying to get everything ready, blah blah blah, whatever. Now it's making sure that I have a pretty good feel going in. I make sure that I trust the bowling balls that I'm bringing, really understanding what I'm bringing, accepting that okay, I'm not going to bring 50 bowling balls to a tournament. I'm going to bring these 9. I know what these 9 do. I trust these 9. And when I walk into the tournament, before what I would do is I found myself not focusing on what I should have been. I found myself kind of looking around, seeing who I knew, who was here. Oh, he's here, I get to beat him, or oh, let me go say hi to my buddy and things like that. And that's perfectly fine. But for me, I found myself just when I go to my pair, I might say hi to a couple people, but I'm going to stand my pair, take my hand up, take my wrist up, make sure my shoes are good, make sure my thumb's good, stand my pair, and stay more inwardly focused because I have a tendency to get outwardly focused. And I may seem like I'm really focusing on me, but I'm really kind of back here. So for me in tournaments recently, it's just making sure that I'm on my pair, focused on what my lane's doing, on what I'm doing, and not really looking around at, oh, how's Chris bowling? Oh, let me go, say hi to him or, whatever. Oh, look who's leading. I'm trying to stay more inwardly focused on the things that I can control. And that's really helped me recently is focusing on what I can control and what I can do rather than what I can't control and, being social and not really focusing because I am there to win. I'm not there to be a dick to everybody, but I'm there to win, so I'm trying to give myself the best chance I have to do that.
No, absolutely, absolutely. That's really big. Like focusing on yourself rather than stuff. Because I mean, I'm a habitual score watcher. Like I just constantly refreshing the phone, looking at the, just it's bad. I love knowing score, but that pushes me because I like to chase. I like to, so, and that's again like some people like to lead, some people like to chase. That's a whole nother mental thing. But yeah, so yeah, the bowling balls. Picking what bowling balls before a tournament, that's really hard.
Oh
Like
yeah, because
that's really hard. um, and obviously some people only have 6 balls, so you just take everything. But when you're chasing that level, dude, you have a lot of bowling balls. You need a lot of bowling balls. So when you're PBA, this is like a PBA type, professional, high level amateur type problem. Is what balls do you take? Um, I'm I float between the 8 and 12 marker for me to every tournament. If I know where I'm bowling, I've been there, I know what pattern, I've bowled in the pattern in that building before, I'll probably take 6 to 8. If I've, bowled in that building, never bowled in that pattern, probably take 12. If I have never bowled there, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. And I'm taking all of them. I'm taking 14, 15, 16 bowling balls. It's crazy.
mm-hmm.
And then that goes, it's a little different because whenever I talk to him, he's like, oh, well, I'm bringing this many, blah, blah, blah. And that just shows you the difference between left and right handed as well. It's a big difference. Is I feel like I
Huge.
have to have a ball for every single thing. And he's like, oh, well, on this pattern, I only need a thing for 2 things. I need a ball for 2 things. Or I only see this
Yeah.
one thing on this pattern ever, so it really just varies.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll bring mine's 9. I can pretty much bowl on just about anything anywhere with 9. If I have the option, I'll take 12 just because you want to have the option. You can. I mean, bowling balls are awesome. If you can bring a couple extra and not use them. I'd rather say I had them and not use them. But most
That's
of the
exactly
time,
right.
I'll bring 9, and I cannot tell you how many times I've thrown 2. Literally, just
Oh, I mean that's every time. Realistically, I'll bring 15 and I'll throw one. Like that's just how it
yeah.
works. That's
But
how it works.
it's understanding that the possibility may come up that you're going to need those bowling balls, and being able to recognize that. There's a difference between bringing 15 and being blind to what's on the lane and should have changed bowling balls, and being aware of what's going on and knowing, okay, I can throw this one if this happens, and things like that. It's that willingness to change versus the having it as a security net, basically.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, that's exactly right.
And
That's
it's a
exactly
big
right.
it's a big issue, especially for guys that travel overseas. That's where getting really good with for me, getting really good with this, being able to change rotations, rev rates, and then using surface to your 100% advantage, and then
After you
using
surface.
ball speeds and ball speeds. Those are the three
Yep.
things. You have to be able to change what you do. I'm not saying a lot, but you got to be able to go up and down from your normal in all categories. You should be able to throw it a little harder, a little slower. You should be able to hit it more, a little less. You should be able to roll it more and add more rotation to whatever your base is. And then you've taken those 6, 9, 12 bowling balls and you've multiplied them by, you could take 12 bowling balls, turn them into 24 just by being able to hit it harder or throw it slower or harder. You can make them do different things to get that flat 10 to be a strike rather than changing bowling balls, moving a zone, and then not really guessing, but that's a different game plan when you make that change.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's all part of the process of what happens the day before you leave the tournament by picking out the bowling balls you're going to take, and then making sure okay, I'm bowling here. The pattern is, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but every time you put out the pattern, it's going to be different.
Yeah,
So
the pattern is almost irrelevant. I mean, I think too many people get stuck on that. I think that's a really good point to bring out. Like, so many people get stuck on like what pattern is it? And then they get there, and then they try to play that pattern the exact way they played it the last time they bowled on it, and they bowl bad, and then one of two things happen. Either, hopefully, they go, oh, you know what, just wasn't playing the same. I had preconceived notions. Too bad. Or they go the route of, that wasn't the pattern. No, it was. But when you take a pattern, you put it on a different lane surface in a different climate, and you're bowling with different people, it's going to act like nothing you've ever seen before. That's why league patterns change so much.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And league is actually, guys, trust me when I tell you this, is the most consistent you're ever going to see lanes. Because on sports shots that have more volume and are flatter, they are way more volatile to climate change and traffic and what lanes they're put down on than a league pattern. A league pattern, if it's off by a 2-in-1 move, that is a gigantic amount. But I've literally gone one pair to the right, and my ball went from bowling 240 to my ball not hitting the head pin. It's that drastic when we're talking about the ratios and the amount of oil and the shape of the patterns that we typically bowl on. So for people that say league patterns are different, that is as good as it's ever going to get for someone who doesn't bowl outside of their bowling center on anything else. That's as close as they're ever going to see day in and day out, literally.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that goes in turn with preparing is mentally preparing yourself that you're going to see something you've never seen before every time you bowl. No matter if you bowl there 100 times, 0. I think that's a really big thing. You really want to
Being
stay
open-minded
focused.
is huge.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely,
Being
absolutely. I've learned that.
open-minded, not being afraid to fail. Like, if you're in game 6 and you're 200 out of it, don't throw the ball from the back of the approach. Try something that you've either been working on, try something maybe the leader is doing if you can get close to that. Try something different, or just try something, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just be adventurous, be open-minded, be open to
Mm-hmm.
something that could be completely different. Maybe don't go 180 degrees from what you're doing, but make that 5-board move left that you didn't think would work, or maybe try throwing it to the dots because the front's hooked so much, or try that super shiny ball that never hooked back home but could be the ball that you need to throw right now.
That's exactly right. Just educated guesses is really all we do.
Data, 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 data.
Data. Yeah, like no one on this planet knows exactly what's right and what's wrong. Game 6, hitting this pair. Who started there? Blah blah blah. Who's bowling there? Um, is it the topography on this side of the center different? The topography on that side. You just there's no possible way of processing all that information. So you use as much information as you can. You get there, you make an educated guess, and you move off that. Done. Simple.
Mhm.
Simple. Yeah.
And that's where I think having success early in your career can sometimes hurt you making the leap going from like a youth bowler to an adult bowler.
I have a whole theory on this, and I believe I've seen it so many times. I completely agree with that. I was not a good youth bowler at all. I won one youth tournament when I was 13. I won the youth states in the handicap division, and I went from 130 average to 175 average. So I just automatically won because that's just how it
Handicap's fun.
works. Yeah, that's how it works. Um, a couple youth tournaments when I turned 16, 17. Um, and that was pretty much it. I never won a low shedder. I
Ah,
never won a low shedder, man. Uh, the FJBTs, those weren't around when I was a youth bowler. I was pretty decent league, bowled a couple 300, couple 800s. I saw a sport pattern 3 times before my second junior gold, 0 times for my first junior gold. I came in almost last in my first junior gold.
yeah, we talked
Um,
about this before.
yeah, like it's
Shout out to number
so
3.
it's so crazy. The jump from youth bowling to adult bowling is just it's massive because what you get good when you're a youth bowler, so then you have a process for success. And that process becomes useless when you turn into an adult because everything you know is now different. Everything, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, the way you prepared, the way you practiced, the way you saw lanes, the way you shot spares, the way your attitude, everything needs to change when you're an adult bowler because now everyone is as good as you are. And that's that.
Do you think that has to do with like ego and humility? You don't
Oh,
learn that at a young
100%.
age.
100% it has to do with ego. Like my entire childhood I got my butt kicked. Like so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the struggle of getting better. Where I think the better, I mean obviously it's the higher, the 1% of the youth bowlers but that's who you're really talking about here is the ones that are good, junior gold, all those guys and girls, and then they they go to adults and there's not translation because it's
Yeah,
so hard to
yeah,
become an
and
adult bowler.
that's why when you see these kids like a Solomon Salama or like I mean like a Simonson who's 19, and they've made that switch and they've kept their foot on the pedal on the gas and they've been able to make that switch. It shows you that whatever process that they've built is it translates going forward and it's very unique to them and they know how to keep themselves in whatever bubble, whatever realm that they're in going forward. They don't let other people in. They don't let things rattle them as much. Although, I mean, there's stories about Simonson, but he gets the job done.
It's amazing.
There's certain players that do translate well because their process, for whatever reason, however they grew up, however they learned how to bowl, whatever however they went through things, it's translated well. I know. I mean, there's a lot of guys that made junior gold, bowled well in college, bowled well on tour. There's a lot of guys that didn't bowl good in youth, didn't bowl good in college, didn't get good till they were 35. You see that a lot. There's a lot of guys that didn't win late into their career because it's really hard to win. But refining the process at an elite level to be able to repeat week in and week out on anything you bowl on is, I think, it's probably more important than just about anything else. It's more important than the physical game. It's more important than
Yep.
ball reaction. It's a week in a week out thing. You got to be mentally there week in and week out.
Yep. It's all about longevity in the sport. We get the privilege of being able to do it later in our lives. We can go till we're 45, 50, 55, 60, some cases 65, depending on your health. Like, there's still some good senior bowlers, super seniors that are, 60, 65 that they can still play. Like,
Yeah.
and those guys, they figured out the way they can focus and get in the zone and get it done, even though they don't have the toolbox they had when they were 30. They don't have the toolbox they had when they were 20. And it's all mental
So
and all process.
What? So you were talking about the difference when you go to like a sweeper versus a regional or a national event, and it just clicks.
Hmm.
What what feels different for you? What do you do anything different, or is it
I,
just
I can't answer that question. I have absolutely no idea why I feel different, and I
okay?
like I have no idea. When I go to tournaments, it's all winning. It's all good. I mean, down in Florida, we have really good talent, so it's not like there's a lack of talent or anything like that. Um, it's I don't know. I will when I figure it out, I'll let you know. It's so unfortunate that I can't figure it out, but when I'm bowling a house sweeper, it just feels more on the fun, getting out, maybe make a couple bucks side of it, and then when I'm bowling professionally, regional, high, anything I got to travel for, just feels just more urgent. From
Like I
this
said,
the time I put my shoes on, it feels different. It's crazy. I don't. That's how I've always been.
do you just feel more? I was gonna say, knowing you for as long as I've known you, do you feel like you're more the underdog when you? I mean, because you've always liked that.
Yeah, no, that could be that 100% could be it. I've bowled. I've made a little name for myself down in Florida. I do really well in all the local stuff. I have for a good few years now. Been on the top of the local scene, and maybe that's what it is. So when I go bowl regionals, I mean, I've been top five in regionals for past couple of years too. So that's pretty good. But when I go to national event, it feels like I don't know. Maybe that is. Maybe I'm a nobody here, so I have nothing to prove. So just go out there and bowl.
Yeah,
Completely. It could be that. It could be many things. I mean, I really don't know. Like I said, I
yeah.
really don't know. It's crazy. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like that for me too a little bit. That early when I started bowling really good a couple years ago, it kind of felt surreal at first, so I didn't really like harp on it too much. And then after I had a chance to reflect on it, I started to press the wrong way, and I started to try to be again like we talked about. I tried to be that good every time I put my shoes on instead of just letting myself be there, and that's what led to I've talked about this before, like a bad like year and a half. And then now I'm finally starting to get to where I'm just trying to be as much myself as I possibly can be and focus on what's going on my lane, the lane I'm on and everything like that, trying to focus what's going on beyond the foul line. And that ties back into practice, making my bad shots as good as I can make them, being able to read that, going forward with ball reaction, preparing that, and then just when I get there, just let it happen the way it's supposed to happen. Don't try to put yourself in a box. If you put yourself in a box, no one can bowl that way.
That's exactly right. No one can bowl in a phone booth. That's the phone booth theory. I feel like I'm in a phone booth.
Yeah, Sean Ryan, you can't get it off your hand with a crowbar and WD-40. That's what it feels like. But it's if you watch like any of the player perspectives on YouTube for the PBA, if you go back and watch the guys recapping how they won, a lot of them will talk about a process. They may not use that word. They may say, I was really watching my breathing. Okay, I was thinking this here, things like that. But they all have a version or a form of a mental state that they're in when they're bowling for a title, a major, a regional, whatever it may be. It's different for everyone, but it's a mental mind state that allows them to let their body do what it knows how to do and what it's been trained to do. And that's what separates the great from the good to the bad. It's that process of learning going up the
That's a
ladder.
good point. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
So
point.
if you guys take anything away from this podcast, it's to when you're practicing, practice your weaknesses, figure out what's going on, try to hone those in, get those to an acceptable level, and then when you take that to league, just focus on what you can control. If that's when you walk up to the ball return and you're not talking to anyone, and that's how you handle it, or if you're a happy-go-lucky guy and then the second you step on the approach, you're a little different. Whatever your process is, make sure it's the same. Continue it. Make it a relaxed thing. You're not trying to be the guy out there that's like, don't talk to me. It's league. You're not trying to be that guy. But you
And
definitely.
and and here's a tip, because I remember I said it before. If you're about to bowl 300, you can't get over this hump. Oh man, I get front eight, front seven, front 10,
Oh yeah,
front
this is good.
11. This is a good tip. You just want to do the same thing you've been doing from the last frame. That's it. That's the trick.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trick. It is not different. It is not a different shot. There's nothing different between the last shot and this shot. There's nothing different between the 11th one and the 12th one.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing different. If if you just threw the front 11, that 12th one's the exact same shot you just threw 11 times.
Yeah.
To try to keep everyone around you feeling the same way. You know, some places they don't care. Some places the entire place goes silent.
Hmm.
Just keep it all going the same, and you'll have no problem bowling 300.
Yeah, that's a good point. My the last game I bowled before the whole shutdown happened, I bowled 300, and everyone around me stopped, and I've bowled 300 a couple times, so I knew that was going to happen. So, huh?
Couple times.
I'm not trying to be
Couple
like,
times. Couple times.
I'm not trying to be like. Anyways, so when that happened, I recognized it, but it was just a flicker in my head. It wasn't something that I focused on. What I did focus on was when I walked back, took my rosin bag, patted on my thumb, wiped my shoe, wiped my ball down, deep breath, stood in the approach. That's what I can do. I can't control if Bill wants to go to my left and Larry wants to go to my right, or they want to stop and watch me. I can't control that. What I can control is I can walk off the approach, I can do the same pre-shot routine, and I can throw it as good as I can throw it. And if they all fall, they all fall. So that's a lot of people will get psyched out because they'll pay attention to everyone stopping. Yes, you're going to notice people stopping bowling around you. It's a very loud bowling center. You're going to see it. But if you allow that to take a lot of your attention away from what's directly in front of you, that's what's going to keep you from getting over the hump, I think.
I agree with all this. I agree.
Thought you might.
All right, so that's the
do you want to add
process.
anything to that?
No, I mean I think we tapped on, covered at least everything about the process. And if anybody, in comments, let us know your process, what you find works good for you. If you anything like that.
Yeah, if
We'd
you're
love to
having
hear that.
issues, if you're having issues,
Yeah, we'd love to
as
hear
you can
that.
see, we share similar ideas. We kind of go about it a little bit differently, but I mean, we both get from A to B. We just take a slightly different path to get there. So
Exactly. That's exactly. There's no right answers in bowling.
yeah, literally.
All right,
Um,
cool.
do you want to take a second to look at bowlersmart.com, guys? Definitely check this out. They're still up and running, shipping out products. Everyone got them stimulus checks, so nothing like going out and buy a bowling ball. Face masks. I just got custom made face masks.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So
that's pretty
you
cool.
guys
If you want to try
those are
out.
sick. You got to check those out. And I wanted to take a second, especially if they watch this video, to thank Cliff Barnes and Andrew Adler of Bowler Smart. During this whole thing, they have gone above and beyond to take care of us. Literally, they've offered us every way they know how to try to help support us. They've given us all the options. They've helped us out. As you guys can see, I'm in a different room. I just moved into my first house. Scary thing, but with their support, I've been able to do that, and they've helped me along the way. So I definitely, I hope they get to watch the end of this. I want to say thank you to both of them because without them, this wouldn't be possible. And there's a lot of people that they're
100%.
depending on them. There's a lot of people depending on them, and they've come through for us. So thank you guys so much for what you do.
100%. Thank you, everybody. 100 subscribers.
100 subscribers. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll be back with number 6 next week.
It's here. All right.
Right there.
See you guys later.
See ya.